Hello, friends. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic week. I feel like it has been forever since I have come on and gotten to chit chat with all of you guys, but I wanted to give you guys a glimpse into the past 2 weeks on the homestead and just the little harvests and preservations that I have been doing in the meantime. So, if you are new here, my husband and I are in the process of building a house, and my house and garden is actually 40 minutes away from me. So, sometimes it's a little bit difficult for me to get down there and do preserving like on a day to day basis. So, I basically go down there and harvest, and then I do all of the preserving within like a couple days or that same day so that whenever I get home, all of the stuff is still fresh. So I started with this basil, and basically I am just rinsing it off and getting it set on my dehydrator trays. And I kind of picked a really cruddy day to go down there and get all of this stuff because my father-in-law had just weed eated. So a lot of this really had to be scrubbed and washed, and you can see I'm picking off little grass bits and things from it. But basil is one of my absolute favorite herbs to grow every single year. I grew mammoth basil and purple basil from MI Gardener, and then I also started some Genovese basil and lemon basil that has not come up yet. All of my cilantro has already bolted, but thankfully I still have all of this beautiful parsley to preserve up and dehydrate. I am doing some dehydrated, and then I have also been freezing it. I'm trying to experiment with both. If you guys have ever froze your cilantro and parsley and basil as opposed to dehydrating it, I would love to know the differences that you guys have noticed and what you preferred. But I have more cilantro that I need to get out in the garden and replant. I just have not been able to do that lately. Here in Iowa, we have had a 110 heat index. It has been absolutely crazy. So anytime that I go down there, usually I'm in the garden at about 7 o'clock at night trying to get garden work and things done just because it has been so excruciatingly hot. And a lot of my stuff did bolt, which is incredibly unfortunate. But like I said, I just need to get out there and replant it. I just have not done that yet. So I got a bunch of that parsley on the dehydrator tray, and then I moved on to all of this celery. So all I did was just take all of the leaves off and then get all of these stalks and leaves washed up separately. And what I like to do with my celery is I chop a bunch of it up and put it in the freezer. Now, you can vacuum seal these. Usually I do if I have like huge batches. I will vacuum seal several bags just so that they last, anywhere from a year to 2 years in my freezer. But on this day, I didn't have enough to do like a big, huge batch with. So I'm just getting a bunch chopped up and then put in a freezer bag. Make sure if you're putting it in the freezer to use a freezer safe bag, because I have made that mistake in the past where I didn't use a freezer safe bag. And then my veggies got freezer burnt, and that's really no fun. But I love being able to add celery into just a variety of different things that I make throughout the winter months and then during the summer. And then I also like to incorporate these into all of my canning recipes. And this year is the first year that my celery has taken off the way that it has. So I am incredibly grateful for all of this because we love celery, and I find a multitude of ways to use it throughout the summer and winter. I actually went out to the garden 2 days ago and harvested 2 more boxes completely full of celery. So I was able to get all of that preserved up as well. And I went ahead and cut down the celery stalks so that hopefully I will have another harvest by the end of the summer, closer to the fall. And then I also decided to go ahead and dehydrate a couple trays worth of celery. I love having dehydrated veggies on hand. I have a couple ways that I store these, like in mason jars, and I use like the vacuum sealer attachments for, getting the air out of your mason jars and things that makes them last a really long time. And then for all of the celery leaves, I also went ahead and got all of these on a dehydrator tray, and I am going to turn all of this into celery powder. I am going to keep collecting this until I have enough to do some powders with you guys. I want to do some onion, garlic, celery, and maybe we'll do some different salts and things like that. So I have just been accumulating all of those until I get enough to make some different powders with them. And then for all of the scraps and leftovers, I just went ahead and stuck them in a freezer safe Ziploc bag again. And I'm getting this put in my freezer for all of my stock making. And I just label the bag as stock scraps. And then whenever I go to make my broths and, just whatever the case may be, even homemade soups, I have those on hand for the stock. And then I also went to the grocery store and bought a bone-in ham, and I was able to find this on sale for like $8 or $9. I can't remember how big the ham was itself, but it was a really good price for the weight per dollar. And what I like to do is buy big portions of meat and then kind of prepare them in a multitude of different ways. So for this ham, I just went ahead and diced a whole bunch of it up because my family and I really like ham and beans. And then I can also add this into scrambled eggs and omelets and, just a variety of different recipes. And they last forever in the freezer. So I got a whole bunch of that prepped. And then I'm also doing slices. I really like having sliced ham on hand because we like doing like marinated ham on a side or as like a main meat component. And then I can add sides to it. It's also really nice to have sliced ham just already prepped and in your freezer ready to go for, get-togethers or holidays or anything like that. You could also marinate this before you put it in the freezer bag. I just kind of like putting them in there plain so that I have the options to do with them what I would like to and switch them up. But the main thing that I bought this ham for was the bone on the inside. So this was bone-in ham, and here is all of the bags and things that I got out of it. But then the rest of the scraps, we are going to can up some pork broth with. And I see people raving about chicken stock and beef stock all the time, and I do agree that those are very, very good. But pork stock, in my opinion, is the absolute best stock to have on hand. It is so incredibly flavorful and just adds delicious flavor to all of the recipes that you make. And I keep mine very, very simple. It's just the bones and the fatty bits, and I fill the pot up with water. And then I let that simmer on the stove for probably 6 or 7 hours. And I do not add anything to my pork stock because the pork is already so salty. So I would advise, if you are going to make this, add seasonings into this whenever you cook with it, but do not add anything into it additionally while the stock is being made, because you can really, really make this very potent very, very easily. So basically, I'm just getting all of my jars filled up, and I actually ended up putting the pork stock in the fridge for probably 2 days before I got to canning this. So if you did not know, if you can't get to canning your broths right away, it's no big deal. Just go ahead and set them in your refrigerator and come back to it when you can. So I just got all of this heated up equally together and then started getting the jars filled up. And for the stock, we are going to be leaving 1 inch of headspace, and then we will get our jars wiped down and prepared to go in the canner. I also went ahead and filled up a quart jar. I like having multiple different sizes to pick from, depending on the recipe that I am making. And then just remember, if you are mixing quarts and pints, to go with the quart size processing time. So I just went back through and made sure all of the head spacing was correct. I am not worrying about debubbling because it is broth. You do not need to debubble broth, but you do need to go back and make sure all of your rims are wiped down really, really good. Pork is incredibly fatty, and it will really build up on the rims if you do not wipe it down properly, and it can inhibit your seal. So make sure you go back and wipe those down really good. And then I am just getting my lids and bands placed on there fingertip tight. Remember to not crank your wrist all the way, just basically until you feel pressure in your fingertips is the tightest amount that you want to put the lids and bands on. And one of you asked me the other day what kind of canner I have. I have a Presto 16 quart canner, and it works just fine for all of my canning needs, but eventually I would like to get one that I can double stack in. But for now, the 16 quart works just fine. I do not have a gauge on the top of mine. I just use the jiggler weight, and 25 minutes was my processing time for my elevation. So after the 25 minutes was up, I let the canner cool completely down and become depressurized, and I started getting all of these broths out. And they look absolutely beautiful. You guys, I have been so busy, I haven't even gotten to can hardly anything at all. So it just felt really good to get this project done and to be in the kitchen doing what I love and enjoy. And I can't wait to find the many ways to use all of these things and recipes and stuff with you guys in future videos. So after I was able to get all of that broth canned up, all of my dehydrated goodies are done, and I started placing them in jars. I will leave my dehydrator down below. I got it probably a year and a half ago and I absolutely love it. The only thing that I didn't do that I should have done was put some parchment paper on the bottom of these herbs because as you can see, mine are fine grated and it does kind of make a mess. So I always end up having to put a towel down. But otherwise, my dehydrator has been an absolute workhorse. And if you are looking for a bigger dehydrator and one that is very heavy duty, I definitely recommend the Circer dehydrators because they have been an absolute game changer for me in my food preservation journey. Something else that has been absolutely game changing is just being able to grow and dehydrate my own herbs. This is a great way to save money if you can figure out how to preserve them yourself. Even if you do not have a dehydrator, your oven will work just fine. Before I got a dehydrator, I just used my oven on the lowest setting and it will dehydrate herbs for you in just the same way. These also make really, really nice Christmas gifts and birthday gifts for your friends and family. I love gifting this out if I have extra. Everybody seems to really enjoy them, getting them as a gift because they can be quite expensive at the grocery store. And then this is my new little ForJars vacuum sealer for cans, and I was testing it out. And so far, so good, you guys. I really, really like this thing, and it's very easy to use. So there's two different sizes for the regular and wide mouths, and you just line the pump up with the hole on the top and pump this basically until the jar pops. And then it takes all of the air out of the jar for you so that these are shelf stable. And I believe they are shelf stable for at least 18 months. If you added an oxygen absorber, these would last quite a bit longer. Oftentimes it takes me a little while to rotate through all my herbs from each year to year. So it's really nice being able to just set that on my shelf and completely forget it. So lastly, I am just going ahead and getting all of this fennel placed into a mason jar. This year was the first year that I have grown fennel and it has grown fantastic for me. So I've just been harvesting the top and then I will put the bulb in the dehydrator whenever it is ready to be harvested as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. This is nothing extravagant, but all of these little things are going to accumulate to a big win, and for that I am grateful. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I will see you in the next one.